Whether you're new to pool and practicing the basics, or a more experienced player performing drills to improve your shot making and positional play, the Drill Partner is perfect for you.
Yo, that's a long commercial. I ain't gonna lie. Like, and as someone who like is a generate like of the generation of scrolling, you know what I mean? Like, be easier on the eye. I gotta talk through here. We gotta get it down to like maybe
Uh,
45 to like 20 seconds. Everything these days, Mike, is so like quick and 90 seconds or less, and you know what I mean?
it gets shorter. It gets shorter every year. The attention
Yeah,
span. It
yeah,
gets shorter every year. People's willingness to stick with something. I remember when it was newspaper USA Today first came out. It was like, this is for people who don't have the attention span to read a real article. And so, it was all these little tidbits and chunks. And now that looks like, an issue of the Atlantic compared to what people
yeah.
are used to. So I say we need to rename this the Zoom and Geezer Show.
The Zoom. Who's? I feel like I should be the geezer.
I'm the geezer. I'm the geezer.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on in the pool world. DC Bird says, "I love Atencio's game." We're gonna touch base on Jesus and his runner-up performance in the Jason Shaw Open. I mean, aka Turning Stone Classic. Mahmoud says, "What's up, guys? Kopinyi coming back on WNT. It's pretty interesting because you dipped out. Pre Reyes Cup, which is supposed to be the Asians' holy grail, and he's like,
Yeah.
I'm out. And then all of a sudden he shows back up and snaps off the event. Brett says, what happened to Joey? We're gonna see if we can get Joey. We're gonna see if we can find him. We're gonna go knocking on some doors here pretty soon. So
I know we gotta have
Mike,
that episode.
Yeah. I see you conveniently rocking the Bears. You were gonna be embarrassed for at least you thought you were gonna be embarrassed for the first like 3/4 of that game, Mike, and then all of a sudden,
what the hell? If you
they-
watch the Bears for the last 8 weeks, you got embarrassed for the first half of pretty much every game. So, but it is this. I've had this. My father-in-law gave me this. I don't know, 10 years ago. It's the first time I put it on.
Yeah. First time you've been proud to put it on in 10 years. First time in 10 years you've been proud to put that thing on. Be honest with you, Mike.
It's that plus I'm really not much of a face painter or whatever. Even when I go to game stuff, I never wear I don't have jerseys. I don't wear Bear shirts or anything like that.
Yeah.
I thought I'd break this sucker out for this. So, it was just, typically wild watching a freaking Bears game. You just sit there and you just try to stay calm and not lose your shit. And you just wait for the other shoe to drop.
So like if they were to make this comparable to a pool tournament, the Bears would be favorite right now to win the tournament in pool, because in pool it's like if you win a couple of games you're not supposed to and you come back from behind, then all of a sudden the pool guys kind of work in your favor and it all kind of comes together. Whereas in traditional sports, usually if you're fighting to stay alive to the last few minutes of every game, eventually that tends to catch up with you. So we'll see which side of the coin.
Yeah, it will. I mean, it's caught up with the Bears plenty. We lost their last 2 games of the year, against Detroit and in San Francisco. Both great games, both come back at the end.
Not
a
lot to play for though.
And you're not always going to win those. You got to get lucky. So
yeah. Bears is a rivalry game. We'll give that a pass. Plus, at the end of the season, you know what I mean. It's like you're trying to self-preservation. You know what I mean. You're trying to just survive, keep the injuries down.
If you're a Bears fan and you just you watch this year and you're like, okay, we were 5-12 last year, right?
Yeah.
5-12, and now, you win the division, you get to beat the Packers at home in the playoffs, which is like a wet dream for any Bears
That's a
fan.
Super Bowl right there for Bears fans.
And yeah, and so now after this, whatever happens, I'm good with it. I like the way they're going. I like the direction they're going. It's fun being a Bears
It's
fan.
like you're rooting for SVB beating Shaw in Turning Stone, and which is usually the case. We're putting on the Turning Stone, and then American fans get all big chested. We're back, you know what I mean? And then it's like, okay, relax, buddy. Just got whooped 11-3 for the.
Well, now John Morrow wins Turning Stone, and we're going to hear all the Americans say we need him on Team USA.
Well, let's talk about it then, Mike, for a minute. Let's mention Mora and Turning Stone Classic. First of all, I had no idea that Turning Stone was going on until like the day before Turning Stone was going on, and so usually this event would be a staple of the season. It was WNT. Mike Zuckerman doesn't care if it's WNT. It's no longer WNT, even though it's one of the more decorated tournaments on America. Like decorated in the sense of, like, at the time years ago, it was of a higher price fund, relatively speaking. It's kind of just tapered off a little bit. And there's been a lot of events that I've been noticing like that, Mike, even like Derby City Classic, where the fields were used to be full of monsters. I'm not expecting it to be like it was years ago. Turning Stone was like that.
These are different. They're both, Turning Stone and Derby, a little gaffy for one. And then for two, it's just, there's so many more tournaments now. I mean, this, a $25,000 added or whatever used to be, a big deal. Now it's, they're a dime a dozen, and Derby, you got to fade the whole time there. So it's people are picking and choosing where they're really going to go travel. I mean, there used to be tons of foreigners. all the Filipinos were at Derby. A lot of Europeans came to Derby. And then it's just been less and less over the years. That's, that's just where it is. And, for Mike Zuckerman, he's fine with it. Because he's always going to run his tournament the way he runs it. If you show up, fine. These are the rules. This is the way you play. If you don't, deal. You want it to be WNT, fine. Mike Zuckerman doesn't care. He's just putting on a tournament. And to a certain extent, Derby is the same way. Greg Sullivan, all he said, I'm putting on a tournament. It's not for the top players. For everybody else, is you're a sucker if you don't play.
Historically, because I've had conversations with Greg before. You know what I mean, about the professionalism level of a Derby City. And he's like, listen, it's not for.
They didn't build it.
Yeah,
they didn't build it.
It's interesting because like they were always like. I feel like it got so popular because of the pros that were there, but it wasn't catered to pros. You know what I mean? It was just for the everybody. But then it's like, well, but you're getting all these fans in because of the Efrens and the Boosties and Dennises and all these Shannon Daltons of the world. You know what I mean? Like, it was one of the few times of year you'd get the entire pool world together. Now, it's like that seems to be going on all the time, except in a more professional, environment, if you will, for a WNT tournament. So it's like it's just a weird transition right now but on the note of Turning Stone, Mike, like JB Anthony says, it was very different as far as the level, the pro level of participation there.
Yeah, Turning Stone. I don't know if Turning Stone was ever as as the field was ever as strong.
Nice.
Say as like Derby's nine ball.
Yeah.
It was always, there'd be, half dozen big names in there, 7 or 8, but then that fat in the middle was always, that 7 to 20. Most of those guys weren't there. Or you'd have sprinkling of the top 20, but, maybe 6 out of the top 20 or so. It was never really the strongest field in the world. Great players from the Northeast. I mean, there's so many really good players in the Northeast anyways.
Sure.
There was always a really tough event to win. But it, was never, to me, it was never one of the top competitive events of the year.
I feel like you got a really good, like if you're a fan of Americans, you really got a good mix of these regional Northeast players, like a Jeremy Salsi type or a Frankie type, or You know what I mean? Where like you can go and appreciate that. Matt Craw comes to mind, and then of course you get the Canadians in there, which John obviously is Canadian and ends up
Right.
snapping off the event. But because it's so close to the border, you know what I mean? It's convenient for the neighbors from the north to come down and sweat it. And then you get these regional, like I said, these East Coast guys, right? And right now you're starting to see this different age range
A
of
lot of
players
talent.
where Lucas type players. You know, Mika was always great in that tournament. May he rest in peace. Jenny Ann says Danny Hewitt. Just so many different players that would go and attend. But that would always, it was always like, I think over the last, probably 12 years, I think the more wins is Shaw, Shane, and Johnny Archer, right? Don't they all have like a high amount of turning
Probably.
wins? You know, and so. But Federer, I think, has won it or came close to winning it before. Him being, somewhat close to that area, you would have figured he would have been there, although he wasn't either, And so it's just a weird turn. The only thing I've never really liked about Turning Stone, even though I look forward to it every year, was the rack for your opponent. And so that's the part where I feel like at times it got real gaffy, especially when you had players like a Mike DeShane who would be there or a Mika who would be there, where they were always like, they want to look and they're just like, and you couldn't hear anything, but you can see they're both bitching about each other's racks. You know what I mean? And so that was always a time where it was just,
match there.
Yeah.
Rack. What match could be better than that?
Yeah. And you could just, I love seeing the body language of players. Mika was never shy or short of body language,
Mika had more body language
than a jazz dancer, Mike. Let me tell you, buddy. So, but like I said, I remember like years ago, I would tune into AZ Billiards and just follow the live scoring, which was always great because it was a little bit ahead of its time, compared to other tournaments in that aspect. And then again, the fields were always solid. The Sundays were always special because you always saw the cream kind of rise to the top. I don't know what happened, Mike. I didn't get to see Jason's path, but when I first saw the field, obviously I thought, okay, you got Moritz, you got Jesus, you got Shaw. Those are the three guys that I would kind of put in favorites. And I don't know what happened to Jason. Obviously, it wasn't his year, clearly, but I didn't get to see the path in which he left. And then surprising for me, Mike,
he got torched by John Mora.
Did he? So John was just on a tear then, huh?
9-1.
That's pretty solid. Isn't it alternate break in Turning Stone?
Yep, and this is after Jason beat Moritz 9-5.
Okay, so there you go. Well, I guess John was just not to be denied, and I probably would have put John in a race to 9, even alternate break. Probably I still would have pegged him as like a game and a half dog to Jason at a minimum. To Jesus, race to 9, alternate break, maybe even money. Close. I don't think I would have favored either one of them. Maybe minus $1.10 a piece. You know what I mean? Bert says, "Oh, winter break." Well, winter break's a little different because then you can get it kind of rolling a little bit. But John's always a bit of a student of the game, so I didn't expect to see John Moore there on the podium at the end of the event. Like that's for sure.
Yeah, and I don't remember who Jesus lost to, but he came out of loser side. Yeah, he was on the loser side for the last 3 or 4 rounds.
Okay, so he was just battling his way through.
Well, John, yeah. I'm not sure where Jesus lost. I didn't really follow that part of it.
James says, I agree with Howard about the stream. I don't know what the streaming was like with, you mentioned Shark Stream. I didn't get to notice any of that. I did see a post about mentioning the boys from Shark Stream. So like how you got Bobby Hilton and the gang out there in Shark Stream, right? And so I saw a post from one of our viewers, Mac Attack, and he had posted how Lucas had overslept his match or something along those lines, Mike. And I don't know if you know what happened or if you saw what happened, but one of the things that was telling to me was that as I was scrolling on that post, I see a comment from Bobby, and I sent you this earlier, but it was kind of telling to me, Mike. And we always talk about Mosconi Cup every year, and we talk about, and that always seems to be the year-round conversation. But he said, and I'm reading from the post here, he says, "Not gonna lie." And this is in regards to Lucas, I guess, oversleeping or overslept and missed his match or something. He says, Bobby Hilton says, "I'm not going to lie, this hits hard, probably harder to his fans and supporters than to him. It is what it is. I hope he made money at the casino at least. And I was just like, yikes, because
Yeah,
if that's
then they think, well, he responded to it saying he didn't play.
he didn't play. He didn't play. There's a number of different ways to like go through that though, Mike. And one of the things that I like when you usually you'll hear about players having issues, right? But usually it's kept close to the vest, right? We want to keep it under wraps. No, he doesn't have a drinking problem. No, he doesn't have a this problem or that problem. You know what I mean? But you would like see smoke here and there throughout the year, or you hear perceptions on players. You know what I mean? And so, but when you start hearing it publicly from guys that are in your corner, it kind of sits a little different. You know what I mean?
It
like
does.
it sits a little different, Mike.
You know, I lie if I said and a couple people comment here. John Moore beat Jesus on the winner's side 9-4.
Okay.
About 3 rounds.
So John just went undefeated then.
2-3 rounds for the winners. Maybe winners quarterfinal, winners semifinal, winners quarterfinal. But anyways, you know, I don't know Lucas well at all, and I don't really follow his, you know, the way he does things. But
noon around, Chico says.
Always kind of just in dealing with him in terms of trying to get interviews set up with him, trying to pin him down for stories, trying to get his attention. He always seems like he's just kind of like he runs on his own clock when he wants to, how he wants to. He plays in whatever events he wants to. He may play in this, he may not. He may get a better action here, he may go there. And that's fine. You know, people, you know, just march to your own beat. That's okay too. But then that's what signal it sends everybody else is, well, then I'm really not going to stick my chin out for you or actually support you, whatever, if I can't count on you because you're just doing what you want to do. And so, I mean, and it could be something as simple as maybe he was really dying to play the match and overslept by accident. People have overslept at these tournaments before. He's not the first guy. And everybody who has overslept doesn't have a problem. You know, so I don't want to read too much into it, but you know, it's the type of name when I see something like that, it just doesn't shock me a lot. And it's just, you know, how seriously he takes what we might consider responsibility and he might consider obstacles.
What are you trying to be classified as? If you're a fucking professional pool player, then sure, it's a responsibility.
He doesn't really care if he's classified as a professional pool player. Maybe he's just basically about playing and making money.
And believe me, there's plenty of those regional traveling, grinding in the grease type players that you'll see day in and day out, year in and year out. You'll see them, you know, they're not Bobby Hilton says very disappointing. I'm not gonna lie. Listen, I love the honesty. My concern is that like when it becomes public, then it's like, well, then this is shit that's probably been going on for some time. It's just finally where he's at a point where he kind of had enough. And I'm not speaking for Bobby, obviously.
But for him to say something like this, very disappointing. Now, you know, like I said, people have overslept before in an event, whatever. So there's got to be more to it than he missed his match because he overslept. So I'm sure Bobby and his own stream will talk about it at some point or another. But you know, there's obviously more there than I want to speculate on because I don't know Lucas as well, and I don't, you know.
Look, I'm just speaking for like people that I've spoken with in the past, as far as just top level talent or just, you know, regional talent or middle of the pack talent or whatever. Right? It's hard to get guys to get behind you. Right? Americans are a little bit more. They get a little bit more opportunity because there's a lot more degenerates here as far as like outside of like no. I mean that with all due respect, but I'm not calling you degenerate. But I'm just saying, like in general, there are state courses who are willing to get behind guys because they just want to sweat, right? And then there's guys who want to go and support your tournament experience or you being a young up and comer, and we've seen you kind of go through it, and now we're proud to have you, you know, coming out of our dojo, so to speak. And so, but like, you don't want to take that for granted because there aren't an unlimited supply of guys who are just willing to get behind you, to support you, to be a sponsor of you, to put you in a tournament. And one thing I always like, you got to respect people that are supporting you, Mike. You know what I mean? And so,
well, there's different kinds of support. There's support from guys who just want to make money off you, and there's support from guys who believe in you and think that you have talent. But those are the guys who are worth more to me because they're buying into you as a person, as a player, your talent. They want to see you succeed.
But as a person, though, Mike, if you have something like this happen,
at that point, you got to get commitment.
That's the thing that's concerning.
And you have to make your own decision as whether you think that commitment is genuine or whether it's something you're going to have to fight along the way. And if you got to fight it along the way, a lot of times you just pick up stakes. And there's players around this country who I think really are maybe more committed, and maybe I'll, help one of those guys out. So, and really, I mean, I don't know, Lucas, maybe if he loses a backer that way, maybe he doesn't really care. I don't know. It just seems like he just goes along at his own pace, what he wants to do, and not a lot of commitment to the process of becoming a pro pool player or a big name or whatever it is. Like I said, he's young, he's single, he's whatever. He doesn't have responsibilities. It's a time of life to not have responsibility.
I think he's got a girlfriend, right? I'm putting business out there.
Got a girl.
Might be getting him in trouble. You know what I mean? So,
girlfriend's a whole different story than having a wife and kids.
Sure.
Right? And having responsibility, and a nut and things like that. So, sure. And at his age, hell, I don't even blame him. Knock yourself out. Slow your oats. Do whatever you want to do. Come back to us when you think you're really committed.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we all have kind of been knuckleheads in our years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I get that. And I've always in dissecting Lucas as a player, the first thing that always comes to mind is, well, what kind of player is he, right? Because there always seems to be this personality conflict with me whenever I see him, because it's like, are you the guy looking to get a score, which I don't mind you getting a score, right? Because you got to go and survive. And listen, not for nothing, but it's a lot more lucrative. The up is a lot higher just being a gambling player and a road player, or John Francisco says he's none of that. He's just immature. But there's it's young. Yeah. But or are you, and then I would see his name pop up in Jeddah or go and pop up in Vietnam. And I'm like, what are you doing there? There's no action there. Now you want to compete for a Mosconi Cup and get points. I don't understand. Who are you trying to be here? Because that's the part where, and listen, there's a lot more players who would be a lot more disciplined, who don't have the support, that would go a lot further with their work ethic and some support. He says he's older than Moritz and Jonas. See, I didn't know that. I would have figured by a mile Lucas is a lot younger than both those guys. Maybe it's a credit to Moritz and Jonas being more mature.
Moritz 21, 22, right? I mean, I knew Lucas. I thought Lucas was 25 or 26.
Is he? I thought he was in his early 20s, because I remember the first year he was able to go to Derby a couple of years ago. So he can't be more than 24.
Okay. Yeah, could be wrong.
Yeah, I'm thinking anyway. But
well, I'm sure Bobby can tell us.
Yeah. And really for me, that's part of, I don't like seeing maturity issues like that, because then it's like, well, who are you trying to be? And not for nothing. Bobby says 23, not for nothing, but there's a lot more of that stigma and stereotype when it comes to American players than there are of other players. I'm just saying, it's about the hunger, the maturity, the work ethic. And when it comes to work ethic, and especially if we're going to have this kid being part of the conversation of a Mosconi Cup type player, that's one of the downfalls of American players, Mike. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It was interesting. Mora ends up winning that event. Jesus comes in second. I think it was a pretty lopsided final. JB Anthony says, in every other sport, you don't get a pass for being young. It's true, but you also in pool and other sports, there's more handlers along the way. Some of these kids in pool doesn't have these guys working on their socials or their managers, keeping them in line for this and that. And I'm not trying to make excuses for the kid, because we've all been young and have overslept. But there's the kid's got a reputation of well, is he just staying up all night in the action room? And Bobby mentioned the casino there in his comment, Or are you going to bed at an early time to get up in the morning to go to the gym and train before you go and have a good breakfast, and then you're up for your match? And this was not like a 9 a.m. match, Mike. You know what I mean? Like, this is a noon matchup. Like, you got to
No.
be like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know about you, but I remember the last time I slept in past noon, you know? And if you're not even drinking, I can see it.
If I
I can
did,
see
it's
if you're
because I went to
drinking.
bed at night.
Yeah. Oh, let me tell y'all a story about Uncle Mike in Manila. This guy, I'm about ready to get out of town. Mike's like, well, it's the last night in the Mosconi Cup, right? Or the Reyes Cup. And Mike's like, well, I'm gonna go out with some of the guys from Matchroom out following the event. I'm like, listen, God bless you. We didn't get home till like 12 o'clock at night, you know, and Mike's ready to hit the town. As Mike's walking in, I'm ready to go to the airport, you know, and I felt like I was like, all right, Dad, I'll see you later, you know. So and,
You know what?
but that was Mike, 6 a.m., 7 a.m., whatever it was, just walking on in,
Don't cheat
you know.
yourself.
But anyway, kudos to John for winning the event. I saw a comment in there
Yeah.
about, his 9-ball game is comparable to most. I would kind of put him in that next tier, Mike, for me. You know, like, I don't he can win like a Super Billiards Expo. He can win Turning Stone, sure, Texas Open. He's always done historically
Yeah.
well in, you know what I mean? But Bobby says never had a drink in his life. Well, then that's even more like, fuck. What are your vices then? You know, because you got, you know what I'm saying, Mike? So
John Francisco said he doesn't have a girlfriend, which I don't know, but so no girls, no drinking. Okay, well, he's a heavy sleeper. But yeah, John. As far as John Mora goes, yeah, I'm waiting for that event too. The really signature win. That's what I'm waiting for.
And he's consistent, if nothing else. I mean, John can be in there in the final 32 consistently. You know.
Yeah.
And the good thing is,
I'm kind of hoping for him to win one of those signature events someplace.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah. And the one thing I really like about John is that, one, he's got a good mix of being a grinder, because he's got to make some money, right? And he stays in action, even though, like, John will I've seen John get in some bad games before, but like, he'll stay in action. But it's like he's everywhere. Like, he's playing in WPA event here, he's playing in WNT event there, he's going here, he's going there, he's playing in one pocket, he's gonna be at Derby, he'll be in the action. Yeah. You know what I mean? So he kind of eats, breathes, and sleeps pool. And so kudos to him for it paying off for a nice payday. I'm assuming, what did they win, Mike? Like 10 grand or something out there? Is that what Turning Stone paid? Do we know? Usually I think it was like, it was like
10 grand for first, 6,500 for second.
Yeah. So,
10, 6,500, 4, and 2,700.
Yeah. So there you go. Jenny Ann says he's seasoned at 37. Yeah. I want to see him go deeper than a regional, like a final 16 at a WNT. I want to see him go deep in some big events. I heard that there's something brewing in Canada this year, event wise. So hopefully he can go and play that and do well out there on the home turf. I'm sure we'll see him out there in Vegas, because I think he lived in Vegas full time, if I'm not mistaken. So, or at least recently. But anyhow, Mike, it was great. Great for him. Great for the event as a whole. Kudos to Upstate Al for streaming it for free, like we just see every year. You can expect Santa Claus to bring in the gifts on Christmas Eve. You can expect Upstate Al every year to be streaming Turning Stone Classic. And so. And I love when I hear some of the commentary, because it's always like these voices that are very unique and perspective that's completely unique. And it's always these like heavy East Coast guys like Ed Cohen and Pancake and, just like familiar voices. You know what I mean, Mike? So
yeah.
God bless him. JB Anthony says, I don't think I've ever seen Moore play better. Well, it paid off for the win. Kudos to him for it. So
it sounded like it played amazing.
A lot of other events going on, Mike, including the event out there in Taipei, which we'll jump on into. But before that, on the note of WNT, Mike, because we've been seeing, I woke up this morning, Facebook was popping off with Matchroom posts for the event out there in Taiwan. And congratulations to But then I turn on and I see this, Mike. And I don't know if you know anything about this or what, because I don't know shit
The
about
paywall?
this.
The
Well, a
paywall?
couple of things come to mind. One is they're promoting an event where there's 4 players, and one of them is Ralph Suke. And then of course you got Efren, which makes sense. Earl makes sense. Django, it's in the Philippines, okay, and Ralph. But like, where's all this coming from? Because I don't ever remember seeing an event like this on
Well,
on the the cycle.
listen. I'm just speculating based on Matchroom's um, partnerships with Puyat in Manila, and I'm just making the assumption that this is a Puyat pushed that they went along with,
That makes a
and
lot more
he
sense then.
Puyat is the Efren and Django guy, and
Right.
God bless him, he is always still looking for a payday for those guys because you know Efren, no matter how much money he's made, and no matter how cheap it is to live in Manila or in the Philippines, he still needs money, right? Um, he looks for opportunities to get these guys paydays, and which is why there's a paywall. I mean, it's okay. They're gonna get
But time out on this
they're gonna
paywall.
get a piece of
Hold on a
whatever
minute on this paywall thing, because
Yeah.
I thought that we signed up for WNT for $10 a month,
Yes,
and that was the paywall.
yes,
Wasn't that the paywall?
right.
But then you're telling me that,
Yes.
and
So
when I signed up for it, it was you're going to get all the access to all of our events, all of our, but
and that's what makes me think that was a Puyat kind of sent. And how do we get more money for Django and Efren? And how do we whatever? And they they needed this piece of it. Who knows? Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me from virtually any angle other than trying to figure out some ways to get some extra money into Django and Efren's pockets and maybe Earl's pocket. I mean, Ralph, he's doing it because he's a heads up stand up guy and would play in these events, as long as you're taking care of him. But
Ralph's the only WNT player out of the 4, right? I mean,
yeah, right.
And
well, looking for players from that, who else were to get? I mean, they could have gotten maybe Johnny. They could have gotten, I don't know where else they're going. You're looking for Europeans, you're looking for European legends from that era. It's Ralph.
It's Ralph. Yeah, I get that. I get
that. So that makes sense. Maybe they wanted a European instead of another American.
Was Mike Siegel busy talking about Mike Siegel? Is that why we couldn't get him on the ticket?
Mike Siegel in this? I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. Mike's the greatest of all time. If you don't know, just ask him. You know what I mean? So, but it just seems and one like so. Okay, these 4 guys a little confusing, although I get it when you position it like that in the Puyat side of it. Sure, okay. And then it's like, well, but then they're not WNT guys, but then they're legends, which that's what it's called, WNT legends, even though none of them have played WNT events. And then it's $30, so it's a paywall within a paywall. So I got to pay my $10, then play the 30 on top, and so I'm paying $40 really to watch this thing if I'm already a subscribed WNT member, right? Is that fair? And not only that, but then what are they playing? Yeah, they just playing. Is this PLP for the nursing home? Is that what we're doing? Like, what are we doing here? I mean,
shuffleboard.
What's the format? You know what I mean? Like, is it just group stage, race to 5? What are we doing? Race to 9, race to 11? How many hours?
No clue. Listen, listen. Like I said, I think that it's it's a Puyat-driven fundraiser for Efren and Django.
Yeah. Well, listen,
sorry, I don't think I'm not. Yeah, I'm not going to say what I think. But anyways,
that's why we got you here, Mike. To say what you think.
Well, I would just say, listen, I don't know how anybody's relationships. I just don't know how excited Matchroom could have been about this.
Yeah. Well, yeah, depending on the structure of it, I'm sure it's very uh, friendly on their end, on the Matchroom side of it, because it would have to be. And it's an opportunity for them to push WNT
So they're
TV.
having it at the mall, huh?
They're at the mall, looks like, so they'll get a nice vibe. I'm sure they'll bring in Sukal and AJ and to as a part of the festivities. But like it'll do great on social media numbers. I can imagine that, because they'll be anything when you're posting any kind of video clips of them playing, especially an Earl and an Efren post or a reel or short or whatever, like is always going to get a lot of shares, a lot of likes, a lot of views. Um, and so it'll help kind of pump up those numbers, which is great. Uh, it's just, yeah, I'm just a little confused, as the whole. But for $30, you can watch them play something for 1, 2, 3 days. It looks like, and I don't know how they're going to win or what they're going to win or if there's any prize fund for winning but it looks like you can get in there to see it for free out there in Quezon City, there in the Philippines, which is great. And I always like
It's in
seeing.
Gateway Mall again. Is this Gateway Mall same place they had the Philippine Open?
I don't know. I mean, it was a nice vibe, that's for sure. So yeah, we'll see. But $30 though, Mike. I don't know about that $30. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't want to be that nitty guy. When it comes to pool, but for something like out of the blue like this, it just kind of struck me as odd. And I remember seeing the post where like they didn't originally state the pay per view. I guess this is them stating the pay per view a week prior.
Yeah,
But
right.
yeah,
Really
and the other thing that's concerning on that end is that like once you kind of open Pandora's box, and I wonder what else my thought would be what's going to come next. Are we going to have to do this again with um, PLP? Are we going to do this again with the U.S. Open, with the World Championships? Like what's the
what?
next?
Another paywall? You mean?
Yeah, like
No, I think this is a one-off. This is a one-off project that needed additional funding.
well, yeah, you got 4 guys to pay. I get that. So, anyhow, Mike, on top of Legends, which they ought to have you in there commentating if it's Legends. You know what I mean? Like show them the green, show them the green jacket for once in your life, Mike.
Two guys asleep
Money
at the
all
table, asleep in the booth.
yeah. Money was flying around all over the weekend, Mike. Another one was going on out there in Iron City Billiards there in Alabama. Big time on the road show. And I see a lot of players, a lot of like these regional players, a lot of these American players where they kind of plan their year around this. It's a handicap tournament, one of the biggest or the biggest in the country, and
That's right.
a big payday for a couple of players. Looks like if I saw the comments right online, Landon Hollingsworth and Kaylee McIntosh split first and second, which had over 200,000, including Calcutta. Pretty solid for a bar table handicap tournament, Mike. I mean, it's probably the biggest event ever, right? In the States.
I really don't really know. I mean, you start throwing the Calcutta. That to me like changes the whole dynamic of the payout. I mean, those two aren't splitting the Calcutta, the two players, right? So,
Yeah.
So,
well, I'd be curious how. I know they spend like the Calcutta is the whole thing, right? And people in the South, they just like to roll the dice a little differently. That's why Buffalo's has a huge Calcutta every year, and this is being Alabama has a huge Calcutta. In the South, they like to gamble, and I mean, you want to throw in a handicap on top of um on the bar table. I mean, that's rolling the dice. You know what I mean? And I see some of these handicaps where I've seen online where like it's steep, like man. I mean, you got to play like a god, even if you are a god, to even have any kind of hope of being successful out there.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's you got to just get lucky.
Yeah. Everything's got to come together. But I didn't see it a whole lot online, Mike. I like I said, I know a lot of players travel from all over the country. They're controlling their ratings. They're looking forward to this event every year because I know they'll reference like Fargo's and things like that, but they have their own individual handicap system. But people look forward to this, Mike, and for a good reason. It looks like because that kind of money tossed around for first, second place. I can see why.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, what was it? 21. Just the tournament payout was 21 plus for first.
Yeah, 21 just on himself. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but you got to be mentally, physically, emotionally prepared for that roller coaster. So I'm sure it was long hours. I'm sure it was some late nights and late call times and all those things. But kudos and congratulations to those two for hopefully getting a pretty good payday. I don't know what the Calcutta slice was like for them, but hopefully they got a pretty good piece of it.
Yeah, yeah. I would hope so. And for someone like Kaylee, I would imagine, it was I don't know I don't know what the rest of the field was like in terms of where all the money in the Calcutta went, who were the top bidders. I don't know who else was in the field. So who would have been the top picks for Calcutta money?
Well, this is the weird thing about Calcutta because I'll see like I haven't been to one of these type of tournaments in a while, but whenever I would go consistently, there would be like you have different personalities of buying Calcutta, right? One of them is the guy who just wants to have a pissing contest, right? Like I want to buy SVB. One, if you're buying SVB, just know that it's rare that he never, actually not even rare. He'll never buy half himself. But like they want to buy the big gun, right? I want to get Federer. I want to get Shane. I want to get, Filler. But yeah, but they may not do so well, you know? And it's like, talk about Buffaloes. Alex historically goes like as the one or two pick in the Calcutta, but Alex hasn't won Buffaloes in forever, you know? And so, but like you want to buy the name, right? And then there's guys that want to buy the value. And that was something that I always look for is like who's got the most upside to cause some damage. And you want to get a return on your investment. Like, and I figure myself as kind of on the sharper side when it comes to watching pool, Mike. But goddamn, when you throw in bar table and then you throw in handicaps, I mean, it's the Wild West. You're just tossing your money up in the air and just hoping that you can that something sticks to the wall, you know?
So how many players?
I don't know. It's huge. They get huge fields, like over. I would guess over 150 players because they have a high side, which is like the better players, I'm guessing, and then the lower side, which is a lower ranked player. But like, just to give you some context here, Mike, you've had the likes of Filler play in this event. Savannah Easton plays in this event. You got junior players who are playing this event, Moscone Cup players who are playing this event. Like you've had it, and I'm not saying this week, but I'm saying in general, like you would have these type of players go deep. You know what I'm saying? So it's oh, actually Michelle says 427 players. Holy shit, Mike. Have you ever put on a tournament? 427 players? I'm surprised it ain't still going on. Oh my God. No wonder why there was so much money there. That is a feat in and of itself, Mike. You know?
Yeah.
I can just imagine like the smell in the room. You know what I mean? After that much of a grind of a tournament. Angela Spain says 256 on the low side. So, yeah, man, that's like Iron Man stuff. You know what I mean? Like, and and you know what? Like, I love seeing the bar table because there's a lot of unpredictability in that aspect. Like I said, when you throw in the handicap, it's a whole other wrench. But just in general, I miss the bar table game, Mike. Like, I love, it's a fun little. It's very whippy, quick, fast turnover, top talent, and there's got to be some way though to kind of like mix it up a little bit. Michelle says Lou waited 13 hours between matches on Saturday, and I think Lou got like eight or ninth, so he got like 10 grand or something. So, but 13 hours, I'd go jump off a building, Mike, if I had to wait 13 hours for a pool match. I tell you that. Like, there's zero interest in wanting to fade that. But then again, I'm not a pool player, so Stephen Wood says Savannah is a 4 handicap and hasn't placed in the money yet. So you know her skill set, and if she hasn't placed in the money, it just goes to show you how tough that handicap and the caliber player out there is to fade, because that's a dangerous mix. But I get why people want to go out there. You know what I mean? So um, looks like some very huge scores. Throughout the weekend, Mike, there was also an event going on WNT style out there in Taiwan. Bunch of names, Mike. Copenhagen snaps off the event, but I noticed the runner-up, who was an unknown Filipino, Ronel, comes in second. I don't know if you got to see much of this kid play, or the route in which he took, but he kind of stole the show for me, Mike.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, it just talk about coming out of nowhere, and it was he wasn't the only one. I mean, there were so many matches in there where you saw these big names, lose to guys you couldn't pick out of a lineup, which doesn't mean they're bad. But you just knew Taipei, Open is going to be, just a room full of killers from freaking Taiwan and everywhere else. So, I kept seeing these names all over the place, backing guys out. But he played great. But for Ko to win both of those, that's just ridiculous.
What did he? So he won the warm up and the other one, or who won the warm up?
Yeah.
Did he
Didn't
win
he
both
win
of
the
them?
warm up? Yeah, he won both of them.
Oh, he beat AJ in the finals of the warm up. Damn, now that's an accomplishment with that. With those,
well, here's the most interesting thing, and I've blown in a couple of messages to friends of mine in Taiwan. I want to know, they still will not say what their plan is for 2026. And I know that they've got a lot of money being thrown at them and deals with people in Taipei and around there for the Chinese 9-ball type events over there. And I'm not sure that, I still am not sure we're going to see them in the WNT events.
What do you mean, Mike? Like All Brothers, you mean?
Yeah.
So you don't think they're playing all the WNT major events? What you're saying?
No, I don't. At this point, I don't. At this point, what I've heard and the vibe I've got is that don't expect to see them. Obviously, it was in Taipei.
So it's convenient there. Yeah, for them.
But I don't see them much outside of that. At least, maybe World Championship, something like that. Not visa issues. These are business decisions that they're making.
Yeah.
I think these are purely business decisions that the brothers are making.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it's got to be lucrative for them, and we can only speculate because we're not privy to, the ins and outs of the Asian pool scene. But there is money being tossed around. They are superstars, in an area where Q Sports is valued. You know what I mean, especially relative to the rest of the world. Yeah. So, and I also love their business approach that they've taken. As far as managing their careers and just putting out product and things like that. So that's interesting, Mike. But it'd be something worth noting, because then it would just end speculation throughout the year as far as like, well, one, you would think no Ko brothers at Open. That's a huge +1 for anyone trying to make the Reyes Cup team. Two, it's like, well, then if they're not really thinking that it's a premier event to go and work for, that's kind of telling in and of itself. But then the other side of it is, Mike, is that, well, then are we going to see anyone from Taiwan in general? Because you'd imagine that's the, rest in peace, Cheng Jun-Lin, but outside of like a Wu Kun Lin type player, or maybe like a Ryan Su or whatever, it's like I can't imagine anybody else making a run, and who's going to be representing that market, if it's even an important market for them to showcase come Reyes Cup time. You know what I mean? So it's just that's so many layers there. One of the things that I took away though, Mike, from watching the event when I woke up this morning, is that I saw a post from Huang. And I don't know if you got to read that post or not, Mike, but he had a lot of telling things to say, especially about the runner-up. He said he had a chance to play a friendly match with Ronel at Marboys, lost one, won two. But what stayed with me was never the score. At the time, I just been knocked out early in the Philippines Open, losing in the very first round. I was a bit discouraged, low on motivation. But when I played Ronel, I felt something very clearly: hunger. He's small and slim. His rhythm is relatively quick, but every shot he played with great care and intention. Even though it was a friendly match, he was extremely serious and composed. He and he goes on and says a lot of complimentary things about this, but it kind of comes full circle to the conversation that we've been having, and also the conversation that we started the show with when it comes to Lucas. Mike, it's about hunger and commitment, and if you really want it, you know what I mean. And I thought, one, that post from Huang was just class, but really it's telling to a whole culture of player that is just so untapped, Mike, in the Filipinos.
Yeah, no, that's true. But commitment to learning how to play the game and playing it well is different than commitment to I want to be a pro pool player. So, what
Yeah.
does this mean for are we going to see Ronel anytime between now and next year?
Hope so.
I don't
You
know.
never know.
We've had these conversations about a lot of young Filipino players, and we know it's a lot. It's not as easy for them to just flip the switch financially,
Sure.
politically,
All right.
all that, and just say, okay, and I'm just going to go play in all the WNT events. So, it's we'll have to wait and see on him too. Then,
These are the guys that everybody should be working their ass off for. Is these type of stories, this Jonas Magden Pace type of story. You know what I mean? Where it's just like they don't have a lot of opportunity, but it is not because of lack of skill or lack of heart. And these are the guys you want to see the sport grow for, because uh that's the guys who are easy to root for. You just, and you'll see these guys where to us they're unknown, right? But you've heard them from the who's who of Filipino players, right? You can go and say, well, I've heard the years of Carlo talking about all the unknown monsters in the Philippines, or Chua talking about the unknown monsters of the Philippines, where 15, 20 years ago, they were the unknown monsters of the Philippines, and just the level of talent that's really out there. And you'll see that like sporadically in the season, right? And it's rare, but like you'll see it Philippines Open, or you'll see it in a regional Filipino event where it's just like you got marquee superstar names that we're used to seeing, but it's always these unknown kids that just come through. And I don't know what this gentleman's age is, but I'm just saying in general. But like you'll see them kind of come through and just they play with such heart and such passion, and they compete, and you give them a swing and they go and make the best of it. James says Ronel made a lot of great kick shots. I mean, yeah, I saw that in the Fran
that's
Hill
surprising
match. Yeah, I've heard they're pretty terrible at kick shots in general. I'm kidding.
Ask Cisco.
But
he said
this is part of.
He said lesson learned: don't leave a Filipino kick shot.
James Mundy says Lucas has plenty of hunger and commitment. He just made a mistake. Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, listen, we're not
telling
the guy over this, but it's just there's people you have questions about to start with, and then you wonder if there's a trend, that type of thing.
Yeah.
We're just tossing it out there for conversation.
Look, I've seen plenty of guys there, and superstar players who have been up late at night going and gambling and trying to make some money, and I get all that, especially Filipino players. But like they're still there. Like the Filipinos kind of approach it differently, to my opinion, because they're there to work. They're there to earn money. They're saving money every step of the way. They're not in it for, to be buying shots at the bar with so and so and just to be laughing. Like they are there to grind, and they are here to make some money while they are in the grease. You know what I'm saying? And they're providing for their families or whatever. And so when I see these guys go and make a score like this, and even coming in second, and I don't know what the payout was for second place, but the cool thing is that, or at least I would hope it's a byproduct, is that you'll get more opportunity for a kid like this. Maybe we'll see him more. Maybe we'll see him try to generate some momentum and opportunity, and maybe somebody will want to go and support him, right? Like a Bobby Hilton type out there in the Philippines, which I'm sure there's plenty, and so
he's not a boy.
I think I saw he was a Marboy, but he's not one of he's not like the name Marboys we've seen over the years, right? Like we were used to like Bernie Regalario and these type of players, right? Carlo Beato amongst others. But like it's these
there's players who play out of Marboys and play at Marboys, and then there's kind of like the core stable that actually gets sent to tournaments and stuff through that slush fund that they have, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's part of that or not.
It's just kudos to them because they got something. They got something good going.
If he is, we might see him.
If he is, sure, because you'll. I remember. So who's that kid who just beat up Harry Vergara, right? Whenever he has a wave or a splash out there in Vietnam, right? And I think he was playing out of the Middle East at the time, but then now he's playing with Marboys, and now he's playing in a lot more tournaments. So it's like I love seeing these guys get some opportunity, get some great support, and I hope that we can see him quite a bit because I love guys who just play like that, Mike. You know what I mean? And I love great stories like that. And so massive congratulations and kudos to him. But on the note of that event, Mike, I mean, goddamn, Copenhagen wins back-to-back events. How fucking sick is that, Mike? I mean, just to win one of those events in your lifetime is solid enough. But this dude did the warm-up event in Taiwan with Filipinos there. And then you go and win the actual main event on top of that. I mean, good night.
Yeah, no, those were two killer fields, two great events, and the guys still got games. I mean, it would be my main point in trying to find out what their plan is for 2026 is that it would be such a shame to not see Big Co and Little Co at all these events this year because I love watching them play, and they're always in the thick of it, and they represent, and they're what you want on your tour. But I understand they got to do business too, and these guys are businessmen. We know that. We know how they've worked on their own brand and marketing in Asia and things like that. So you got a lot of genes. That's
the youngest brother is on a heater in his own right, winning some big matches too. And so and he's been coming for the last couple of years. Ko Ping Chung obviously winning a U.S. Open event over the last few years as well. Both of them always going to be threats in any world championship or any major, but it just kind of goes to show like the way that the pool world is going because like, look, I've seen those two at Derby City before. I doubt I would see them this year. I've seen those two. We've seen Big Co win a World Pool Master before, even though we haven't seen that event. In forever, it seems like at this point. But it's like there's a lot more options. So like these events that we've been used to seeing kind of be so premier and prestigious are kind of, I don't like say get watered down, but like it's just you're looking at them differently, and the player caliber is different at those events as well. Obviously, anything in Taiwan you're going to hold with a certain level of standard, because it's like there's whether it's just Asian players in general are so unbelievably deep and talented, and I got a lot of respect for them. But yeah, Mike, you oughta do some work and see if you can find out the hell their plan is because
pushing hard since like November,
yeah,
and they just don't want to say anything, and that all to me is like signs that they're steering away. So we'll see if I can get some traction over there.
Well, I think you'll see it soon because PLP is coming up, and so PLP is probably going to be real telling as far as who's going to go where, and it's the non-committed ones are the ones I'm going to be really interested about because I saw a post with AJ showing his USA visa. To me, that screams he's going to be in PLP, especially the way they've been pushing that kid all day, every day. But you get an event going on in Vegas at the same time, Mike, and so I'm curious to see. Jason is Matchroom, so I guess he would be in WNT PLP, which he always is, versus being out there in Vegas. But then what's SVB going to do? Because he's won that event before, right? I'm guessing he'll be out there in Vegas, just my guess.
I think SVB is Vegas all the way.
Yeah. And so, but like, where are these players going to go? Because Cole would have been a top guy to go out there for an event like that. It's just made for him.
Came to the U.S. If the Cole brothers came to the U.S., they'd be in Vegas.
Yeah. So I'm 100%. Curious to see what the personality and what that product's going to look like as well. Like that's where I don't know. I want to see a players list, because I want to see who's going to go where. There's a lot of top talent that's going to be out there. JB Anthony says Jason's playing in Vegas. Well, that's even more telling for me. If Jason's not playing in a Premier League event, which Matchroom loves pushing these. He's like the UK guy. It's a Sky Sports event, So I'd be shocked if he's not playing out there at Classic in another month's time. So, um, do you know when they're going to plan on announcing some players for that event? By the way,
As soon as they can get something to commit.
somebody says I'm in. Yeah, I can. I'm telling you. Listen,
You got a live one.
yeah, if you want
We got a live one.
if you want any kind of guaranteed action, bet on AJ Manis being at the Premier League, because that's when I saw that USA Visa post. It ain't for him coming to Derby, in my opinion, and it's for him going and playing in that Premier League pool. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting how the rest of it kind of shapes out. On top of that, Mike, I saw today Derby City. I'm sorry, not Derby City. Mosconi Cup tickets are on sale. Jenny Ann mentioned that earlier. Same price as last year, whereas last time in Orlando. What's your enthusiasm level like right now for the Mosconi Cup and seeing this push come January?
Well, I think that they're playing off the fact that there's a lot of discussion about it right now, and they've got a very fervent U.S. fan base, and they know, they're trying to get that. It's almost like trying to get it to be almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy, where we're the thing within the U.S. we put it out there, it'll sell out. People going, well, if I see this ticket price come out, I got to get it like right now. So I would imagine that they'll do really well ticket sales right away, and people loved it in Florida. The Europeans loved it in Florida. So I think that I think that they'll do just fine sales early on.
We'll see, because a couple years ago, the Florida one, even though there was a lot of like people, it's out of Vegas, blah, blah, like they still sold out and that place was packed, and it was a great environment there. I was out there, Mike, as you were. It was the year Shane got inducted to the Hall of Fame a couple years ago, and it was low ceilings. Stands were built up right up to it. The noise, the energy was just lights out. Their VIP selection was absolutely great. Like the experience in and of itself was fantastic. Now the competition side of it was a complete dumpster fire, and I hope that they get that situated. But just for the environment, like if you got some time off and you're in the area, right, go out there and hang out, because it's going to be cool. And I actually like that hotel, Mike.
It was great. No, the whole facility was great. The arena was great. No, they did really well there, and I expect they will do really well there again this year.
James says, I've been hearing Jason will be in Vegas, just like the other James said. Yeah, that's interesting to me, Mike, because I want to see who are going to be these Premier League players, because I'm guessing you're going to probably have like an Atencio type player out there, because he's a classic guy. I'm sure you'll get some Q-Tech guys, so I guess in like Fran will probably be in the mix. But
if you're a Jesus guy and you're trying to, curry Matchrom's favor, whether you want to go to PLP or not, if they invite you, you're going to take it on the chin and go. As opposed to going to Vegas.
But let me ask you this though. I mean, you're saying to like appease Matchroom, but what's the smarter decision? Because you can argue Matchrom's probably paying their fees to go on a 10 PLP. So all they got is upside, even though the payday is not going to be nearly as great compared to Vegas, but you also don't have any risk either. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. No, it's it's everybody's decision what's important to them. So
yeah. We'll see how the players list turns out, because I want to see some of these guys who are going to be committed. Vegas is, I always enjoy that event. Because number one, it's just like a pool carnival for adults, for 10 days.
It is. But they're not going to have the world 10 ball out there this year, right? So,
but that team's events is looking solid though, Mike. We saw that announcement with. They said on social media they got Americans get 2 teams, a la World Cup of Pool. So one American team, which I don't know if it's been formally announced, but if it hadn't, you can hear it here. One of those teams is going to be Shane Van Boning, Sky Woodward, and Savannah Easton. Tell me you're not fired to see those in the Scotch Triples tournament, right? That's one. And then the other American team is Oscar Dominguez, Tyler Steyer, and Sophia Mast. So I mean, it's like, you know, and then I'm guessing, okay, well, who's going to be out there for Germany? You're probably going to get the Fillers and Moritz, right? So that'll be a solid team, or even Vogel and the Fillers, you know. So it's like it
Yeah.
I'm excited to see who's going to go
That
out
is.
there, you know.
They're doing the world teams. They're doing the world teams, and they're doing mixed doubles, right?
Yeah. So, and listen, the Matchroom needs to partner up with something like that, because the flow that you get from amateurs already in the building competing, they may not be professional pool fans in general, but like you're starting to dip their toe into the water as far as being around it. You know what I mean? And that's where they've done a really good job of just keeping in that, because especially for like shootouts or whatever, like you'll see it's just standing room only, thick full of league players. You know what I mean? All the way around that thing. So, yeah, I want to see that players list. I'm going to try to interview Vincent from the Pro Beard Series here pretty soon as well. Maybe next week, Mike.
It's gonna be a big event. Well, even it's not a World 10 ball, but the men's event there is still gonna be decent prize money.
Yeah.
I think it's 40 or 45 for first.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I mean, though. Like when you think about, if you're thinking about it, we talked about finances last week or whatever it was for players, right? So like if I'm a player, depending on type of player, one is I'm getting all my expenses paid for in the PLP. So if I get, and you want to kiss Matchroom's ass, which is, you know, that comes with other opportunities later on down the road, right? Then the other side of it is, well, and they're paying their expenses, right? And then the other side of it is, well, you're going to have a lot more, you're going to be a lot more extended if you're going out to Vegas. You're out there for 10 days. It's all on your own dime, right? Hotel, food, you know, plus, but you get more bang for your buck if you're a player, because you can play in the mixed doubles, you can play in the men's, you can play in the triples. So you got three swings at making some money versus one. But like, I think PLP is you're playing like it's a sweatshop, and then the most you can make is what, 10 or 20,000?
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. For not a lot of money.
Yeah. What are you winning out there, Mike?
PLP?
Yeah. Is it 10 or 20?
I thought it was 10.
I thought it was 10 too. And if it's 10, it's like, goddamn. But I thought it was 10 too. Yeah. Maybe we got to look that up beforehand.
PLP last year, Moritz?
Moritz won. So you'd imagine he'd be on that as a defending champion.
Wow. Albin. It's going to hurt him to not go out to Vegas.
He should be in Vegas, though. If he's got a chance to play on the German team, because the German team would be a top 3 team to win the event. If you're telling, and they won the world teams.
Josh, Jesus, line it up.
Fucking. And they're the defending champions, because I don't think they ever got to repeat the following year. They never got a chance to defend their title. So he's got to be on that team, no?
Yeah.
Am I wrong in that, Mike, or am I I got some more screws loose than what I thought? Because there's
so many freaking events, especially with the damn Predator stuff now, the PBS stuff. There's 9,000, you know.
Yeah, but that was the only triple event that we had, and then it disappeared for a year because they didn't have Puerto Rico the following year, right? So, yeah,
for sure.
And I think the world teams was like, we're getting this in Vegas versus getting the World 10 ball, but we're still getting a world championship, you know? So, yeah, I'm shocked. James says, I don't see Shaw's name on the players list right now. Yeah, it's a weird, you know, if you're looking at it from where you're going to get, because they always would show, like, they would always position it like, well, you're going to get promoted unlike any other, which you will get pushed on their socials. Don't get me wrong, if you're playing in PLP, but you're behind that paywall, at least one paywall for now. Who knows if it's going to be more. But on the other side of it is you're going to be on free, and you can stream on your own channels as well through Vegas, because Predator will let them, each player stream their own individual stuff, which is great for them to be able to grow. But yet I want to see how the next couple of weeks turns out. On top of that, Mike, we got Derby City coming up. And do you know, because as I look through the Matchroom schedule, right, last year,
Right.
last 2 years, Derby City 9 Ball has been a WNT event. Now I know it's different than any other tournament in terms of like it's not played on 4-inch pockets, blah blah blah. Different racking area or breaking area, I should say.
Right.
But is Derby not no longer a WNT ranking event?
It's not on their list of events upcoming, right, for regional things. So, and who knows why? There was talk at the beginning when it was all about, okay, we're going to let these guys do their own stuff for a year or so, but then we're starting enforcing rules, and that all kind of went out the window. And so who knows what's behind it?
I want to know, because that
was
really
20,000. PLP was 20 for first last year.
Okay, so there you go, 20,000 for first. So you're probably getting 10 or 12 for second. So, you got a pretty good swing there, maybe 8 to 12 depending.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to know if it's going to be pushed as a ranking event, because man, one of the things, especially from the fan standpoint, Mike, that I really enjoyed every year, like sure you got the grinders and the action guys there, and that was a whole other environment in the evening out there at Derby. But like you would walk in to register, and there's the Austrians, there's the Coe brothers, there's the Spaniards. Then you're going to get the Americans, right? You're going to get all the One Pocket and Banks guys there too, right? You're going to get Filipinos there. I mean, Anton's first event in the U.S. was Derby City a couple of years ago as well. And so I'm just curious if there's no longer that collaboration or whatever. If they're not sanctioned as a WNT event, then I wonder what the story is behind that, and why the fallout. Because that's really one of the few chances throughout the year, kind of like a turning stone, where you can go and pick up 10 grand and not have to fade everybody and their mom.
Right.
That's a world beater. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, and I guess so then we're not going to have, by default, then, by the legends being out there in Manila. So that means we're not going to have Efren at Derby, which is always a great story.
Yeah, it's like the 20th or 21st or the 23rd, something like that, right?
Yeah, so that one's going to be
When's Derby start?
22, I think, because I think I leave on 20.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they're not coming.
I leave on 20. That means I leave in 8 days for the fucking Derby. I'm not mentally prepared to leave in 8 days for Derby. Fuck. It's a bad idea, Mike. It's a bad idea. Anyhow, what else you got, man? Because that was a lot of topics to kind of go and dissect and digest and cut up.
There. Yeah. No, that pretty much covers me. Yeah.
Who do you got tonight in the Texans and Steelers game? Think Aaron Rodgers got any more magic left in the tank?
Listen, I always rooted against Aaron Rodgers. It's just the way it runs.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not rooting for Pittsburgh. I always liked Mike Tomlin. I always liked Pittsburgh, but sorry.
Yeah. They're the blue collar guys. You got
Aaron Rodgers, Karen Rodgers.
Yeah. Aaron. No, look, Texans got two-sided defense, and defense wins this time of year. So, and you can't.
Last night.
Yeah. Wow. These games have been solid though, Mike. I mean, you talk about, by the way, we didn't even get to touch base on Michelle's comment, smell of weed and regret. That's my favorite Derby quote of all time. I asked Michelle, how's the casino? And she says, it smells like weed and regret. And I'll never forget that for the rest of my life. But there was some great games, Mike. That what was it? The college football, Indiana just destroyed Oregon, and then
yeah.
But that Miami game was solid. I don't take it back, but yeah, that was a great game. It was great seeing. It's great seeing when you look over and they're panning over to Irvin and Ray Lewis and these guys that are on the sidelines. And I wish we would have like.
Those guys are staying as far away from Michael Irvin as they can get, man. Are you kidding me? You don't want to be seeing Irvin. They're going to think that you're out of the train too.
Yeah. Look, it's just the passion of sports and how chaotic it's been Ole Miss was obviously a great story throughout that.
College and pro playoffs have been like money.
Yeah,
Really, really.
I know
good.
they've
really fun.
They've hit the home run. No, who do you got in that? I mean, I'm sure we'll have another show before the next week's college football final. But who do you got in that game? Yeah, you think
yeah. Indiana's just looks so much better than everybody else. But it's in Miami, and
that defense looks fast with Miami. That defense looks real fast with Miami, Mike.
Yeah. So it'll be fun. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
But the thing about Indiana, they appeared to be like the most prepared team of any team I've seen this year. When they go out to play, they are prepared. And both sides of the ball, all players, they don't ever look like they don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Let me tell you. So I gotta like balance my weekend, right? And I do a terrible job at it of like being, the dad, but I'm also a guy who loves sports, right? And there was a lot of sports all day, every day for the last like 4 or 5 days of the weekend, whatever it was, Thursday on. And so, but I try to like negotiate. Okay, well, I can miss halftime, the first half of this game, and then I'll come back and I'll watch second half of this one. We can go to the movies or take you to get some ice cream or whatever. So that's what I did. Saturday night, took the girls to go get some dessert, right? And I said, I'll come out, and I'm timing it to where
DVR, man.
I told you I can't rewatch that shit, Mike. But anyway, I say I'll come back after halftime to watch the second half of Oregon and Indiana because I wanted to watch Indiana play. Fucking terrible. It was over. And then on the flip side of it, this is where I dogged it with the Bears. Because
I'm not talking about watching it the next day. I DVR it. So then if I come back after halftime, I can watch the whole game before the game even ends and skip all the commercials.
This is the brutal part.
And still catch the.
It's like the Bears. All I saw was them. I missed the first half, right? So like I'm just scoreboard watching, right? ESPN app. No, but then I'm this interested in the second half, only to start seeing. And of course, I watched the fourth quarter, but like only to see like, okay, they're not going to come back. The Bears can't come back. It's too much of a deficit. They're playing in Green Bay. All these things. Fucking here we go again.
Season, man. If you're not watched the whole second half of the season, especially when the Bears play the Packers, even last year's games. The Bears fall behind. Packers look great in the first half, and the Bears make it a game in the second half and either win or come close to winning at the end. That's the way they go.
Call me crazy, and I know the Rams' offense is elite, but like I think I like they kind of been stumbling over the last 6 weeks to kind of get to this point. I kind of like Chicago in that game, Mike. Call me crazy, but anyhow,
yeah, we'll see.
All right, we'll get more pool stuff coming up in the next coming days. We'll try to get some guests on as well. I don't got anything lined up guest-wise so far this week, but we're going to try to get a few. So, Mike, you got anything else before we get on out of here?
No. It's been fun. We've been clacking a lot of hour-plus shows here lately, buddy.
Yeah, I'm going to block you when you send me the invoice, buddy. So we'll see all you guys and gals a little later. Thanks so much for hanging out with us.